Hi everyone, my name's Kevin, and today I'm going to share my capstone with you. The purpose of the capstone is to illustrate how I was able to meet each of the program outcomes and professional values that are represented in the School of Library and Information Management at Emporia State. I'll start with a little information on my background before I joined the SLIM program and how it ties into what I've been studying for the past 2 years. I started working in libraries when I was still in college at the University of Kansas. I joined the Interlibrary Loan Department my sophomore year, and I stayed there until I graduated. After that, I got a part-time job at Lawrence Public Library that turned into a full-time position running their ILL program. I was able to interact firsthand with patrons to gain an understanding of the importance of strong reference and user services. I also saw how various integrated library systems and library OPACs affected both workflows of staff and the ability to locate materials for patrons. I left Lawrence Public Library for a library assistant position at Children's Mercy Hospital, where my focus was primarily on article and retrieval and periodical management. It was at Children's Mercy where I realized that to really expand on what I already knew about libraries and to become a professional, I needed to further my education by joining the SLIM program. Since then, I've switched libraries twice more. First to a law library for a year, and then back to Lawrence Public Library as a collection development librarian. I hope to stay here for a while so I can be more hands-on with the community that I live in. Now that you have a little background on me, I'll get to now that you, now that you have a little background information, I'll get on to how I was able to meet the outcomes and values instilled by the SLIM program. In the class In the class Foundations of Library and Information Sciences, I wrote about how patron information's In the class Foundations of Library and Information Sciences, I wrote about how patron information needs are quickly changing as technology advances and how it's a librarian's job to make new information as accessible as possible. I look forward to expanding on the foundations SLIM has taught me and to continue helping patrons fulfill their needs in an ever-changing environment. At Lawrence Public Library, I used WorldCat regularly, which sparked my interest for writing a research paper on the way collections are accessed through OPACs for our Organization of Information class. The paper explores how each information resource has various pros and cons due to the way users interact with them. The understanding of how to explain, use, maintain, and develop systems to organize and retrieve recorded knowledge was greatly helped by my metadata project, where my partner Brad and I developed a metadata schema for organizing information related to the local farmers market. Unfortunately, the presentation wasn't recorded, but the visuals we used for it are shown here. When I started at Children's Mercy, I had to quickly familiarize myself with new knowledge management systems that I wasn't used to, including DocLine and Clio. This experience made me confident that with fundamental understanding of how these systems are structured and how information is indexed, I would be able to tackle any other new system thrown my way. I think Katie and I demonstrated this when we presented the findings of our research on the database of open access journals in our webinar for the Information Seeking Behavior and Reference Services class. While I was a law library assistant, I used Westlaw as a research tool daily. I took the opportunity to While I was a law library student, I used Westlaw as a research tool daily. I took the opportunity to evaluate its usefulness and whether it should be available as a tool for patrons in the information retrieval class. Since I was familiar with Westlaw, it was a fun experience to create a learning tool for my classmates who might never have been exposed to it otherwise. My experience at Children's Mercy got me interested in researching the significance of open access medical journals in the U.S. for a literature review in the Collection Development and Management class. Open access journals are the wave of the future, but their success will be greatly aided by librarians who can carefully curate and evaluate their collections and promote them to researchers. A brief stint at an intellectual A brief stint at an intellectual property. A brief stint at an intellectual property firm inspired me to choose patents as the subject for this Pathfinder. I created a web page and a presentation to outline the Pathfinder, which laid out pertinent information on finding resources, filing applications, and a general overview on intellectual property rights. This Pathfinder could be used by both librarians and patrons alike. My background in IP also led me to expand on the subject for my advocacy campaign. In an advocacy campaign for the class Advocacy and Information Organization, I explored how to register Lawrence Public Library as a patent and trademark resource center, which would give Lawrence inventors and business owners proper intellectual property research and application assistance. Now that you've heard about the more practical side of things, I'll get to how the core values of the program have impacted me. My project for collection development and management allowed me and my partners to evaluate the services provided by the Topeka and Shawnee County Public Library to see what could be changed in order to comply with a budget cut. We examined only nonfiction materials that applied to a variety of patron interests and needs. The breadth of resources offered by the library made me further appreciate the role a library can play in its community and how it can be critical in the health and well-being of its patrons. I feel that leadership was best represented in the advocacy campaign artifact from Program Outcome 8. The campaign required taking a firm stance on an issue after carefully researching its pros and cons and rallying others around it. I also believe that integrity was best exemplified in the first program outcome, Foundations of the Profession. At the base of librarianship is the responsibility to ethically provide information services, which is well addressed in the paper on the foundations of service and information science. I'm glad we had so many opportunities to teach one another in this SLIM program. Many of the professors encouraged us to share our experience in librarianship, and some were able to learn from us just as much as we learned from them. My best example of mentorship, though, comes from the online presentation I gave for Program Outcome 5, Reference and User Services. Through this presentation, I provided my peers with information regarding the use of Westlaw, which would primarily be utilized by professionals in the legal field. The assignments I've completed in the SLIM program have, together with the hands-on experience I've gathered in various fields, helped prepare me for a future as a librarian. I'm glad I was able to share some of my experiences with you. If you have any questions, feel free to get a hold of me through my contact page. I'd love to hear any of your thoughts. Thanks for taking the time to listen to my presentation.